my dear Chutku people, I hope that you are doing as wonderful as you all are, and I welcome you all to the series that is called 99% in 99 days, my dear children. And few of you texted me, ma'am, could you please start off this chapter? So I thought, why not? Because I know this might have not come for your midterm, and this is a chapter that you might need to study as a whole new thing, and I have not taught it earlier in the channel, so which is why I thought of starting with Heredity. And today we will be talking about introduction to Heredity, where I'll be clearing the basic concepts of Heredity about which you should be knowing before getting further into complicated stuffs. So let's make the basics really clear, and I promise I'll do that. And if you are liking this video, do not forget to like and comment as well. Starting with the first question that I have for you is, what do you, ayo my hair, okay, what do you mean by heredity, my children? Okay, think for yourself. How can I define heredity? For me, I can say heredity is the process where basically the characters, I am getting the characters from my parents, and that is coming to me. This is the process of heredity. But I do not have a definite definition, a good definition. So how can I frame a good definition? It goes like this. I can say that heredity is transmission of characters or traits from the parents to the offspring, isn't it? We are transmitting, or basically the parents are transmitting their characters to us, and this whole process is known as heredity. Now heredity is the continuity of features from one generation to another. So over here I have a cute gif. So this is one generation, this is second generation, this is third generation. Over here I am basically carrying out the features, or there is a process which allows the characters to flow between generations, and this process is known as heredity. Fine. Now I hope this is covered. Easy, right? Next thing, traits. Whenever we say characters, okay, so characters can be of two types. One type of characters are known as inherited traits, or inherited characters, okay. Now there is something else which is known as acquired trait. What do you mean by inherited? What do you mean by acquired? Inherited means certain things which I can inherit from my parents. For example, the hair color, the eye color, the skin color. These are certain things which are there in their genes, and basically it is transferred to me in the form of genes only, in the form of chromosome or in the form of DNA only. These are known as inherited traits. For example, now one day I go to gym and I have big muscles over here, okay. Now I expect that the child that I would be having would also be having muscles over here. Do you think it will be an inherited trait? Can the muscle be transferred? Can this particular muscular growth be transferred to my child also, just because I went to the gym and I exercised? No, children. So all this type of features which you acquire during your lifetime, I acquired it. I went to the gym, I had muscles. There was a choice where I didn't go to the gym, I won't have muscles also. Okay, so this is something that I have acquired, and these traits, okay, this set of traits, the acquired ones, do not get transferred from generation to generation. Only the inherited traits. Inherited traits would be in my genes, my dear children. Inherited traits always would be the characters denoted by my genes. Acquired traits are something that I acquired throughout my lifetime. For example, I color my hair. Okay, I have colored my hair, and I expect the child that I have would also be having this coloration only. Half of it will be other color, half of it will be black. Will that be possible? No. This is something that I acquire, and this is a trait. This is my character. This is how you know me. That, okay, Jasmine ma'am has a hair color which looks like this. Right? So I can divide things into two categories. So over here, examples of inherited traits becomes your eyes, your ears, your hair, your height, all of it are inherited traits which you inherit from your parents or from the other generation which was before them. Now acquired trait is something that you acquire during your lifetime, and it cannot be inherited. Now how will you write it? So these are the traits that are inherited from the parents, like skin color, eye color, ear lobes, etc. Okay, about earlobes I will be talking in the next session. Okay, acquired traits, there are traits acquired by an organism throughout its lifetime: learning to ride a bike, play an instrument, bodybuilding, etc. So there are so many things my parents do, but I do not know it, because these are acquired traits and you do not basically inherit it. So basically, when I say certain things are inherited, okay, when I say certain traits are inherited, how can I inherit certain things from my parents? So there is a process going on which is known as reproduction, which is why I am able to inherit those things. And if you have seen, we have so many different type of traits. For example, eye color only, there are so many. There is blue eye color, there is brown eye color, there is black eye color. There are so many different types of eye color. basically it's a character. Eye color is a character, right? Eye color is a character or a trait, and you have different types of it: blue, black, brown. So how do we come up with these varieties? How do you think that these varieties have come up? What is the reason for this? So I am going to talk about that. So, but how are there so many varieties of a character? The reason is reproduction, my dear children. So reproduction, I have to go a bit back to the chapter how do organisms reproduce and explain you a bit of things, then only you might understand the other things that comes through your way. So reproduction can be divided into two types. One is asexual and the other one is what? Sexual mode of reproduction. So you all know that sexual mode of reproduction is where two organisms, okay, two parents are involved. They sexually reproduce to produce an offspring. Whereas in asexual reproduction, there is no fertilization of gametes. There is no fusion of gametes. There is only one parent involved. But why is ma'am talking about this right now? The question was, how do we come up with different varieties? I am going to explain you that only, my dear children. We come up with different varieties because majority of the organism, they are doing sexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction is something that brings out the varieties. I'll tell you how. Okay. Now, that does not mean asexual reproduction does not bring out varieties. It also does in its own level, but the amount of variations would be really less. So, first we are talking about sexual reproduction. Why do you think that sexual reproduction, this is a very important question, why do you think that sexual reproduction leads to more amount of variations? The first point is that in that two parents are involved. When two parents are involved, there is two sets of DNA, my dear children. There are two sets of DNA, right? So these two sets of DNA will be inherited by the child. The child will be having both the DNA over here in their cell. Now, don't you think it will bring out variation? Now, the child would be looking quite similar to this parent and this parent, but not exactly similar to any of the parents, because the child is a mixture of both the DNA or both the genetic material. So, they cannot look exactly similar to one particular parent. No, that cannot be possible. It will be a mix of two parents over here. So again, over here we are combining two different genetic traits. Okay, we are having two different genetic characters. So obviously the amount of variation will be more. I am different from my parent. This is a variation that I am having. Okay, so obviously one reason being that two sets of chromosomes or basically two sets of DNA are being coming together. Second thing, whenever I say that DNA has to be given to the child, okay, into the gametes. So basically, obviously, the parent cannot give its own DNA. The parent's DNA will replicate. The parent's DNA will create a copy of itself, okay, will create a copy of itself, and this process is known as DNA replication. And then this particular parent will be giving the copy to the child, right? So this process, that is DNA replication, is not entirely correct. Sometimes they make certain errors. Sometimes they make certain errors such that, for example, I say this was the parental DNA. Now the child's DNA might have certain regions which are not quite similar to the parental DNA. So this DNA replication process is not error free. Remember that always. It is not error free, and since it is not error free, it will lead to more amount of variations. It will lead to more amount of variations. Now these variations can be good, these variations can be bad as well. Okay, so bad variations would lead to diseases, for example cancer and stuff like that. Good variations would help us survive during different environmental different environmental conditions. Okay, so there are two reasons why sexual reproduction is always better for more amount of variation. First thing, there are two parents involved, so I am combining two different sets of DNA together, which is why I am creating a new combination of DNA over here. Okay, now second thing, whenever I say that two parents are involved, or whenever I say I want to make an offspring over here, obviously I cannot give off my DNA. Instead, I will make a copy of it. And this process is known as DNA replication. And DNA replication involves so many enzymes, so many things. But this is not error-free. Usually our body tries to correct all the problems that are being created by itself, okay? But sometimes there are certain errors which our body also cannot find. So certain enzymes also fail. Mistakes just happen. So basically at that point of time, you give out more different type of DNA. Not entirely different, but there will be little differences, and these little differences accounts for what? Variations. These variations can be good, variations can be bad. So variation will be more in sexual reproduction because of two reasons. The first reason goes like this: contribution of genetic material from two different individuals. This is the first reason, as well as due to replication errors. Okay, so this is the reason why sexual reproduction has more amount of variation. Now, when you talk about asexual reproduction, there is no chance of two DNA combining. So, I cannot say variation can happen from that particular aspect. Okay, there is only this particular parental DNA will be there. This particular parent will create copies of its DNA and pass it down to the offspring. Example of asexual reproduction, you have binary fission where an amoeba divides into two. So, wherever it divides into two, it also gives the, for example, this is an amoeba, it has its DNA. If the amoeba has to divide itself into two daughter amoebae, obviously this DNA had to be copied. One copy will go here, one copy will go here. That's how things will work. So, over here, I cannot expect another parent to contribute any genetic material, so there won't be much amount of variation. The only variation that could occur is because of what? The DNA, again, same thing, DNA replication errors. Due to this, I can expect certain amount of variation that would also be really less. So, variation will be comparatively lesser in asexual reproduction because of the contribution of genetic material from only one parent. So, it will variations solely rely on what? Rely on errors during DNA replication. Works? Cool. So now I hope you know how to answer for the question, that is why sexual reproduction will give out more variations. Okay? Cool. Chalo. Next thing, there is an example given in your NCERT why variations are good and how variations accumulate and things like that. So over here there is a bacteria or whatever thing is there. Okay? It formed two organisms. Now here you see variation from the parental type. Here also you see variation. So every generation there is some amount of variation. Now this will divide. You see variation over here. You see variation over here also. You get it? So these are the variations that happen every now and then because of reproduction happening. So the major cause of variations is being, first thing, you have to reproduce, then only you can give rise to variations, right? Now certain variations would be really good, and in your NCERT textbook there is an example given for the bacteria. Okay, so there is bacteria A. Where is it? Okay. There is bacteria A, which I call Papu. And there is bacteria B, which I call Bunty. Okay. So, this particular bacteria, Papu, has some variation in it. And this Bunty does not have that particular variation. These, both of them, they are bacteria, okay? They are not human beings, they are bacteria. Both of them. They have the variation, it's just there. Now, one fine day, what happened is that some crazy environmental condition happened, okay? It's too much amount of heat wave have come. Too much amount of heat wave have come. So what happened is that because of the gene which is present over here, because of the variation which is over here, Papu was able to survive. Papu bacteria survived, but what about Bunty bacteria? It died. Suppose, just suppose, this variation was not there in Papu also. Okay, Papu was also like Bunty. What would have happened? Basically, their entire species would be dead. No one, if they do not have any variation in them, okay, they would not be able to survive during this heat wave, whatever happened. And all of them basically would be dying. So, will they be able to continue their species? No. So, that's why variations are very, very, very important. So, you need variation such that survival of the species or survival of an individual can happen. Survival of an individual individual can happen. Now, similarly, if there are some other individuals like that, okay, or if there is only one individual, still it will divide itself. This is a bacteria, right? It will divide itself and maintain that species, would be maintaining that species. So this is why we say that variations are kind of really important, because variations helps in survival during unfavored environmental conditions as well. Okay, and variations helps in the species survival, the continuity of the species and everything. That whatever you want to write, you can write. Variations helps in continuity of species, variation helps in bringing out changes, things like that. Whatever you want, you can write. Okay, but I hope you understood what I was trying to say, that variations are important because, or else the species would not be continuing and you will be seeing their extinction, which we obviously do not want to see. Got it? Chalo. So that's all about the basic thingy. Now, talking about pure genetics. Okay, pure genetics. So the first question comes is, who is known as the father of genetics? Who was the person who went behind it, who tried to find out everything that's there in our DNA and stuff like that? Who was that? His name was Gregor Mendel. His actual name is Gregor Johann Mendel. He was a monk. Okay, he was a monk and he was working on a plant which is known as Pisum sativa. Pisum sativa, also known as garden pea plant. Okay, please remember Pisum sativum. Pisum sativa, it is known as garden pea plant. Okay, and what were his findings? What did he actually find? That is the next question. Before coming to that, I have one very important thing to say. If you are someone who is interested in DSAT, that is Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test, then you can follow the link which is there in the description box. Click on that and you can fill the form. What is this for? Basically, if someone is confused regarding what you should be taking up after your 10th, it's for them. So there will be 60-minute concept-based lecture. After that, there will be an aptitude test, and then there will be one-on-one counseling session. Okay, and depending on that, the counselor who will be there would be suggesting you a stream that will be perfect fit for you. So it's for that. So if you're interested, you can definitely look into the description box. Works? Chalo. Now let's see what were his findings. So Mendel proposed that traits were specified by heritable elements called factors. You didn't understand? I'll tell you. So basically, suppose there's a trait that is height. I am saying height is defined by something that is known as genes. Okay, but he didn't know that there were genes. He called them factors. He called it factors. Later we came to know that it is gene that he was talking about. So he said these traits that you see are specified by certain set of factors which are there on the DNA. So these are basically heritable elements. These are certain things that we inherit, because genes is there on DNA. DNA is something that we inherit. So Mendel proposed that traits were specified by heritable elements called factors. So all the traits that you see, whether it be skin color, whether it be eye color, everything, for everything you will be having a gene or basically a factor coding for it. Cool? Works? Now, genes come in different version or alleles. We can say that alleles are alternate forms of a gene. Okay, so basically, if I say that there's a gene for height, I am saying that they come in different varieties. Okay, one can be capital T gene, other can be small t gene. So height is of different varieties. You know, either people can be tall or they can be dwarf. So Mendel was not aware about medium heighted people, so he didn't talk about that. It's not about height of the people. He did this experiment with Pisum sativa, which is garden pea plant. So according to him, with his limited knowledge, whatever he tried was really a big deal. So height also have two different varieties. Similarly, for two different varieties, obviously the gene which is coding should also be having two different varieties. So one variety will be coding for tall. The other variety would be coding for dwarf. So what do you call these varieties of a gene? You call them as alleles. What do you call them? You call them as alleles, my dear children. So this is allele 1 for one gene. Okay, this is allele 2 of that particular same gene. So over here you see this is a chromosome, this is a chromosome. I would be having one allele over here, one allele over here. Okay, now it can be same also. Here if it's capital T, there also it can be capital T only. But over here I just gave an example of two different alleles. So this is capital T, this is small t. Similarly, for example, if you're talking about color of the flower, suppose you're talking about color of flower. Color of flower will also be coded by a gene. Okay, the color suppose can be red or it can be white. That means there will be allele for this also. There will be an allele that will be helping for red color. There will be an allele that will be coding for the white color. Okay, so these are the alleles. Now, when I put it on the chromosome, there is chromosome number 1, chromosome number 2. The alleles will be just there in the opposite. They will be always like this, okay, at the same position, at the same location. So this allele, it can be capital R, this can be small r, or probably it can be, this is capital R, this is small r. The capital R will be coding for red, the small r will be coding for white. Or the situation can be where both of them are capital R also. That can be possible, okay, where both of them are capital R. So this organism would be obviously given red flowers. Now, it can be, situations can be where the small r. So small r stands for white, so it can be white flowers also. Either way, so alleles can be there, alleles will be definitely there. It can be same alleles or it can be different alleles like this. Okay, whenever I say there are different alleles in a pair of chromosome, I call this condition as heterozygous condition. Heterozygous condition, where both the alleles are different, where I have both the alleles over here, this is known as heterozygous condition. When I see both of them are same, I call this homozygous condition. Homozygous condition. I hope you know that all our chromosome coming in pairs, so each pair will be having one allele for each character. Cool. Now the alleles can be same like this, that is homozygous condition, or it can be different, which you call as heterozygous condition. So according to Mendel said that traits, all the traits that you have are coded by genes, and these genes are nothing but heritable units that is there. He didn't say genes, he said factors, and these factors are what? Heritable units which you inherit from your parents. Okay, then comes the genes comes in different variations. When you're talking about genes, now the genes which are there, they also come in different variations which are known as alleles. Okay, so different types of this particular trait are coded by different types of alleles that you have over here. Second thing, okay, now the third thing, alleles are of two types, dominant alleles and recessive allele. Now the alleles which you see are of two types. For example, you have capital T over here, small t over here. Why do you think I have put it in capital and the other one in small? To make it different, look different? Yes, okay, fine, that is there. But I also want to tell you, in a pair of allele which are different, okay, there will be one that will be dominating the other one. Probably they are going to make more protein. For height, and this particular gene is going to code for less protein, which is why this dominates. Obviously someone is making more protein, their effect will be shown. So I will say this is what? Dominant over the other one. So whenever I use capital letters, just understand the fact that I am talking about a dominant allele. For example, in the case of red and in the case of white, red was denoted by capital R, white was denoted by small r. So why is white not denoted by small w? Because you usually do it in that way only. The dominant, whatever dominant character is there, you make the small letters over here and you write it like that. Okay, so over here this is a dominant trait and this is a recessive trait. Okay, the other one, what do you call it? Recessive. This one will be dominant. So in a pair of alleles, there were two different alleles, one will be dominant and other will be what? Children, recessive. Dominant being expressed over recessive alleles. Recessive alleles are only expressed when no dominant allele is present. Now when will recessive allele? I said this will be tall. But what if I want dwarf plant? For dwarf plant, what should be my condition? For dwarf plant, both the alleles which are there should be what? Small t. They will only express when they are in this condition, that is homozygous condition. Okay, whereas if you want tall plants, either you can have like this where this is dominant, so anyway this will express, or probably you can have it like this also where both the alleles are capital T. At this point also the plant will be tall. Don't think double tall, it's not like that. If there is enough protein, the other will be silenced. Okay, so basically this will also be tall. So the dominant alleles, if you have seen, they show themselves in two conditions. they show their trait in homozygous condition, okay, when they are same, and they also show when they are in heterozygous condition, okay. They, like this also they show the character, like this also they show the character. But when you talk about recessive alleles, they will only show its character when it's in homozygous condition, or else it will be dominated by the other one. Cool. So all your traits are coded by some heritable factors which are known as which are basically genes only. In bracket only you write, don't write like this, okay. Now the genes which come, they come in different versions which are known as alleles. That is the alternate forms of the genes. Now, alleles can be dominant and can be recessive. The dominant allele will express over the recessive allele. The recessive allele will get only expressed when there is no other dominant allele present. Cool? Or when there is homozygous condition. I hope you understood that. Okay? Cool? Now, I want you to know two very important terms. One is phenotype and the other one is genotype. So basically, sorry, over here I have a pair of chromosome, okay, and I say this is capital T and this is small t over here. What do you think will be the phenotype of this particular organism who has a chromosome like this? Always remember pheno, PH, it is for physical character. As in, you are being asked what will be the physical character of this particular plant which has these two chromosomes. So the physical character will be, the plant will be, children, tall. The plant will be tall. Why? Because there is one to dominate over it. The plant will be tall. Phenotype always denotes the physical character. So you are asking about the character over here. Now if you are asked about genotype, what do you mean by that? Genotype basically means the genetic makeup. So what is the genetic makeup of this particular thing? It is capital T, small t. Can you see any organism's genotype? Can you see this plant's genotype? If I say there is a tall plant, by looking at it, can you tell its genotype? No. Can you tell its phenotype? Yes, it's a physical character. I see that it's tall, so I can see this. But genotype you cannot see, it's there, you have to examine it. And this is capital T, small t over here. This can be capital T also. Anyways, tall will anyways express itself in heterozygous, homozygous condition. You get it? So, in most sexually reproducing organism, each individual has two alleles for each gene. I already told you. This pair of alleles or the genetic representation is called genotype. This pair of allele or genetic representation, what do you call it? Genotype. And it determines the organism's physical appearance, also known as phenotype. This is the one that will be determining this particular thing, that is the phenotype. Cool. Works. Okay. I hope you are understanding the basics. Chalo. Now let me do, so I already told you this, which is why I'll change certain things. Okay. Let me make it, okay, this gene, no, it is capital Y and this gene is small y, and I am saying capital Y stands for yellow and small y stands for green. What is the genotype of this particular plant? What is the genotype of this particular plant? Genotype, can you see in general, is the genetic makeup. So the genotype is capital Y, small y. What is the phenotype of this particular plant? Phenotype means the physical character. If Y, capital Y denotes yellow, and I have mentioned there is one capital Y, so this is a dominant trait. This will be dominating over the recessive one that is over here, that is small y. So this particular plant will be showing the dominant character, which is what? Yellow. Okay, this is the first condition. Now the second condition I am giving you, where the thing is like this. Small y, small y. What will be the genotype? Children, you can try to attempt in the comment section also. What will be the genotype? Tell. This is classwork second question answer. What will be the genotype? The genotype will be small y, small y. What will be the phenotype? Over here, what will be the phenotype? What is the character that is being shown? Small y is there. There is no one to dominate over here. Okay, so it will show up its character. This is the recessive thing. So it will be what, children? It will be green in color. Cool. Okay, now one more scenario which will cement everything. There is capital Y, there is capital Y. What will be the genotype over here? What will be the genotype over here? It will be capital Y, capital Y. This is genetic makeup. What will be the phenotype? There is only dominant traits, so it will be dominant is Y, Y is yellow, so it will be yellow. I hope you got it. Okay, so I hope you tried with me. Try muddy. Okay, cool. Chalo. Now I think with this topic we are ending this whole session. Okay, so there are two different crosses that also you should be knowing. One is monohybrid cross and one is dihybrid cross. Monohybrid cross is when I am talking about just one character. I am just talking about one character at a time. For example, I am talking about just the height. In height there are different varieties. I am not concerned about that, but I am just talking about one character, that is height. Okay, so it involves the study of inheritance of one pair of contrasting characters, example height, by crossing between two parents. So basically, whenever I am crossing between two parents having two different alleles for a character, okay, for a gene, that is height, this is known as monohybrid cross. For example, as of now I am talking about height. In height I have these two contrasting traits. I am going to study about them. This is known as monohybrid cross. But along with height, if I am also talking about the texture of the seed that this particular plant produces, texture of the seed, so this is another character that I am having. This also will be having varieties. It can be wrinkled, it can be round, either way that is possible, right? So this is the next character that I am having. When I am studying about two characters at the same time, what do I call this cross? I will call this cross as dihybrid cross. So over here you see, this is a gene. This gene has two alleles, okay, and both of them, we are basically, you're talking about height, so it is tall and tall. It can be tall and shorter allele also. Over here, the next thing that you see is the next character, wrinkled and smooth. You're talking about the texture of the seed. So when I am studying both these characters together, when I am studying the inheritance of both these characters together, I will be calling this cross as dihybrid cross. And the new combination that it will bring, I am studying about that. Okay, the new combination that it will bring, I will be studying about that. This study is known as dihybrid cross. So it is a study of inheritance of two pairs of contrasting characters crossing between the two parents. Over here, two parents I have, okay, this one, and there will be one more parent, and then I am crossing, but I am looking for the two different characters as well. You will get to know more about it when I actually show you, and that will be done tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow at the same time you can wait for the video. There will be a video coming where I will be talking about the whole crosses. Okay, the test cross, everything that is given in your textbook along with the blood group and everything. Okay, so you don't have to worry about anything, everything will be there. So I hope you basically understood the concept. When you're studying about just one trait, it becomes more easy. It is known as monohybrid cross. Now the different varieties that you get from this is hybrid, the hybrid thing that you get. Okay, so monohybrid is basically study of inheritance of one pair. This is a pair of contrasting characters, okay, by crossing between two different parents. So this parent and some other parent which will be there. Okay, dihybrid cross is basically between two parents, but over here you are examining two characters as well. I know it might be confusing, but it will be clear tomorrow. Okay, so I think that's all. And there are certain questions that I want you to solve. One is, a study found that children with light eye colored, solve it now, okay, with me. 3 questions are there, we will solve it first. A study found that children with light colored eyes are likely to have parents with light colored eyes. So they are saying children with light colored eyes are likely to have parents with light colored eyes. On this basis, can we say anything whether the light color trait is dominant or recessive, why or why not? Can I say it's dominant or recessive? I am saying that light colored children might have light color parent as well. That means probably the light color gene is what? Dominant. Which is why I am pretty sure, I am saying likely it is happening. Okay, likely this is happening because light color, this is there. Okay, suppose this was a condition. Which is why I am always getting, anyways, whatever I am doing, I will not confuse you guys, I will leave it like this, let me not confuse. Okay, so there are chances that this is a dominant trait, which is why it is expressed in the children also. If the light colored trait was not dominant, it might not have been expressed in the children. Okay, so there are chances. But can I always say that light colored could be the dominant one? Can I be pretty sure about it? No, I cannot be pretty sure about it. So how can you frame the answer for this? You can frame the answer for this like this. As the trait is expressed in all the children of such parents, the parents are homozygous for light eye color. Homozygous for light eye color, for example, L stands for light. So they might be like this, both the parents, LL and LL. It could be like this. However, it cannot be concluded whether light eye color is dominant or recessive. Okay, I cannot say whether it's dominant or recessive. Why? Because both the dominant and recessive character express themselves in homozygous condition. Because either it can be like this, or probably suppose the light eye color is the recessive one. In that case, it can be like this also. Both the parents might have had this, which is why all the children which will be formed will be having light eye color. Whatever you do, okay, for example, this was the condition where I suppose that this is a dominant trait. This is the parent. The gametes that will be formed, okay, the gametes that will be formed, one allele can be passed. It can be either capital R, again capital L only. Similarly, here also capital L, here also capital L. The gametes that can be formed, this is a chromosome, children. Remember, you are talking about chromosome. So I am saying this is capital L, here also it's capital L, here also it's capital L, here also it's capital L. This is parent 1, this is parent 2. In this pair of chromosome, only one can go into the gamete. In the gamete, only half the number of chromosomes go, no? So it can be this or this. Here also it can be this or this. Either way, whatever thing I do, if this gamete fuses with this gamete, it will be capital L, capital L. If this gamete fuses with this, again it will be capital L, capital L. Whatever I do, always I will find that all of them will be capital L, capital L. Hence all of them will be light-eyed colored. But what if I assume that light-eyed color is denoted by small l and it is a recessive trait? And it is a recessive trait. In this case also, the father and the mother, both of them can be small l, small l. Now when they give gametes, it can be small l, small l, small l, small l. Now when I fuse it, again I will get small l always. And small l denotes for what, children? If I say light eye colored, then what? So it can be L can be, basically light colored character can be a recessive one or it can be a dominant one. Both can be expressed in a homozygous condition. So I cannot say whether it's dominant or it's recessive. I have no right to. So on the basis of this, can we say anything about whether the light eye colored trait is dominant or recessive? I cannot say it. I cannot say whether it is dominant or recessive. Okay, because I do not know the parent's type. If the parent's type is like this, that means it is recessive allele. If the parent is like this, that means it is a dominant allele. So if I'm not knowing about the parent thing, I cannot say anything about it. I hope you got it. Read it once more. Okay, it is an NCERT question. I think example question that have come. However, it cannot be concluded that whether light eye color is dominant or recessive because both the dominant and the recessive character express themselves in the homozygous condition. So suppose the parents were homozygous for this trait, then how can we say that? So without knowing about the parent's genotype, I cannot say. That is the answer. Now, explain how sexual reproduction gives rise to more viable variations than asexual reproduction. How does this affect the evolution of those organisms that reproduce sexually? So how can you frame the answer? A mistake in DNA copying, okay, that brings about variation in sexual reproduction. Second thing, during the creation of gametes, genetic material is exchanged between homologous chromosome. Variations accumulated over generation as a result of reproduction and natural selection, resulting in a wide range of diversity. So basically, I am just trying to say the points that we already studied. That is, in sexual reproduction, you will be finding DNA copying errors. In sexual reproduction, you will be finding new combination because you have two parents. That is the thing. And then you are talking about how do you think that these variations can help the evolution of species who produce sexually. So because okay, rather than writing this, I can say that these variations that arise, okay, these variations that arise would help in survival of species during unfavorable conditions. and the things that survive during unfavorable conditions obviously will undergo evolution later on, and form probably a new species over there. So this is how it affects. So how does this affect the evolution of those organisms that reproduce sexually? Positively. It affects positively, it helps in survival, and it brings about more evolution, more good changes in the organisms. Okay. Now there is one more question. A gene is said to be dominant if. When do you say a gene is dominant? It expresses its effect only in homozygous state. If the gene is expressing itself only in the homozygous condition, at that point of time, can I call this gene as dominant? No. It expresses its effect only in heterozygous condition. If it shows its effect only in heterozygous condition but not in homozygous condition, can I call this as a dominant gene? No. It is expressed both in homozygous and heterozygous condition. When this particular gene is able to express itself both in homozygous and heterozygous condition, can I then call it a dominant allele? Yes, I can call it. It is never expressed in any condition, that is wrong. So this becomes your answer. It is expressed both in homozygous and heterozygous condition. That's when I call this allele as dominant. When do I call a gene recessive? When it is not expressed in heterozygous condition and it is expressed in homozygous condition. That's when I will call it a recessive allele also. So try to frame your questions also, it becomes a lot more easy. I don't know why I messed up with the answer over here. I have not checked. Sorry, so sorry for that. Okay, but this is the answer that I already gave you. Cool. Basically talk about variation and say that variations would help in the survival. Okay. And yes, with that, once more, if you are someone who is confused about your career, then please take DSAT, that is Teacher Scholastic Aptitude Test, where there will be a 60-minute concept based lecture followed by an aptitude test, and there will be one-on-one counseling with a counselor who would help you tell the best stream that could suit you for your future. So if you are interested, link is there in the description box. And if you think that this particular video was useful for you, then definitely do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also let us know your warm wishes. Okay, so that's all children. Bye bye. Take care.